Well, good evening. We're glad you're here. As I say, most other meetings, we do appreciate you donating your time to us. We hope that these meetings are beneficial, and if they're not, you need to let us know so we can fix them, so they will be beneficial to you. Just a couple of reminders tonight from me. First, our portal has terrific reporting system. And we encourage you to take advantage of that. In fact, we'd like for you to go routinely and look at the reports in the portal to see how your district's doing, see how your clubs are doing. Let me tell you that right now we're ahead year to date of where we were last year this time. And we believe that's because of you and your contacts with folks and encouraging folks to contribute. And we're deeply impressed with that and thrilled with that. And having said that we're ahead of last year, you might want to scratch your head and say, why in the world is he about to say what he's about to say? But just bear with me here. I want each of you to go talk to the clubs in your district and ask them to send in the money that's been collected that they haven't sent yet. Let me give you an example. I have in our district, we have club CART chairs. And one of those called me on Monday and asked for a report on how much his club had given so far this year, so he could report that to a club assembly. And I gave him the number, fairly easy to get out of the portal. He was incensed, upset, and challenged the number. And that's not a problem. We did some investigation. And we discovered that his club treasurer was sitting on $1,300 that had been collected by the club and had yet to go to the CART fund. So I use that as an example to say, go talk to your clubs and see if there's money that your treasurer has squirreled away and see if they can't send it to us. And the reason I'm trying to emphasize that is that whatever we have in hand in the bank March the 1st, it's what we can give away. And we have some absolutely wonderful applications this year, and we would like to fund a whole bunch of them. But if your club treasurers are holding on to money, we can't use it. And so please encourage your clubs to send in what they've collected and obviously collect some more. We appreciate what you're doing because you're really the backbone of the CART fund. And so thank you very much for what you do. And I'll turn it over to Tiffany.
Thank you, Rod. We're going to talk about those numbers just a little bit later tonight also. So I have a couple of important dates to share with you for you to mark your calendars, please. Our next lunch a la carte is coming up this Monday, December the 12th, with Dr. Susan Cage from the Salk Institute. As of today, we only have 14 people registered for this session. That is a shame. As all of you on this call know, these sessions have been incredibly important and they've been productive. Everybody is telling us how much they enjoy them, but it's on each of us to make sure that our districts get invited. So whether it's an email to club presidents or an email to your club CART chairs, if you have those, or something to be added to the website or in the newsletters, whatever you can do, work with your district public image chair, your district governor line, and your individual contacts, but also share it on your social media. It is on the CART Facebook page, so you can share it from there. And all of the links are in there as well. And if there is someone that you want me to send an individual link to that is not a Rotarian, if you'll get me that information, I'll be happy to send them that link to register for people who are outside of DACDB as well. So we really need to make sure that we up that that attendance and do our best to get a large crowd there for that. And then coming up in the next few weeks, I'll be sharing with you the dates for those in the new year as well. But for now, make sure you have Monday, December the 12th on your calendar. We do have the next 2 dates for this meeting scheduled. As always, you will find all of these dates in the DACDB calendar. Just please make sure at the top of the calendar, you select multi-district district events. And when you do that, you will find all of the CART events that are scheduled that are in there. And if you go ahead and register for these events, you'll get the email reminders the day before, one day after you register, and again, one day prior to the event for all of our events. We set them up that way. But make sure you mark your calendars for the next monthly meeting on Monday, January the 10th. Remember, these meetings are always 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. The next one will be on Monday, January the 10th. And then in February, we will do a Tuesday night, and that is February the 7th. Did I miss that? Did I get the date wrong? It's a Tuesday. I'm so sorry. Tuesday. That's correct. Sorry. Tuesday, January the 10th. I knew that sounded odd as soon as I said it. My club meets on a Monday. Tuesday, January the 10th, and Tuesday, February the 7th. So I apologize for that. 2 more Tuesdays coming up, but one of them is the second Tuesday of the month and one is the first Tuesday of the month, because we do recognize that there are some clubs that meet twice a month on first and third or second and fourth. So we're trying to be very conscientious of that. So if no one has any questions about that, that is what I have on an update on important dates for you to remember, and I will return back to Rod.
Thank you. We heard from you repeatedly that you wanted to have the annual meeting somewhere besides Columbia, South Carolina. And because we heard from you, we asked you to give us suggestions as to where we might meet in 2023. And we even sent you a proposal form to be filled out to propose a location for us. Today, besides Columbia, South Carolina, we have one proposal. One proposal. And so that means that the deadline has been and is continuing to be next week. And so if you would like to have somewhere in your district considered, we need a proposal by next week, December 15th. And on December 16th, Tiffany and I will look at the proposals in hand and make a decision. If your proposal is not in hand, we cannot consider your district as a possible meeting place. If you lost the proposal form, Tiffany will be delighted to send you another one. Just let her know. But literally, we want to consider whatever location you think is appropriate. We just need to hear from you in terms of where that might be. And so help us out and submit some proposals so we can have choices for the annual meeting in May of 2023. Tiffany?
Thank you, Rod. Just a reminder that all of the requirements and criteria are on that form, but if you do need it again, I am happy to send that to you. So I have a couple of other quick updates and announcements. As you know, we are truly promoting the Roger Ackerman Circle and encouraging folks to become members of our recurring donor program. The last time we all met last month, we were at 64. And you may recall that I had a goal of us hitting 100 in the first 100 days, which means by the end of December. As of today, we are at 77. So I thank all of you who have signed up to do that. Those of you who have not yet, that's right, Bill Parker, we are this close, literally. And we're on target. We have about 23 days left in this year, and we need about 23 more members of the Roger Ackerman Circle. So if you have not done that, I encourage you to consider it for as little as $5 a month, $15 a quarter, or $60 a year. You can be a member of the Roger Ackerman Circle. I have not sent any pins out yet for those of you who are wondering about those. So please hang on. I promise I will get to that. We're working on that process. If I'm seeing you in person, I'm delivering you some that you can hand out and distribute, but we have not mailed any yet as we haven't quite worked out that whole process. But again, we're at 77. What I have learned is that if you ask, they will do it. And in every one of my presentations, I use that as part of my ask of folks. And every time people are coming up to me afterwards and saying, I'm going to go back and do that right now. And I'm learning that they truly are doing that. All right. So in addition to that, I wanted to give you a quick update on our branding. And, you know, we've been talking about rolling out our new logo and our new imaging campaign. I have redone the PowerPoint presentation that we shared with you all several months back. And so if you are preparing for a future presentation and need that, want it updated, please let me know. I will get it out to everyone eventually, but it's a very large file. And some people have told me that they have their own anyway, and they don't want it or need it. So I'm happy to send it to you if you want it. I'm happy to do that. Just let me know and I'll send it to you via a download because it's a pretty large file. Again, Aaron, our Vice President of Public Image, he also created some new Zoom backgrounds for us, and I've got those that I'm going to be sending out for you as well. But what I'm going to ask you guys to do is a couple of things, is to help us. If you see a club, either a website, a bulletin, a flyer, a fundraiser, any kind of publication that either is using our old logo or has a link on their website to some old documentation, I'm going to ask you to help us be our eyes and ears and to let those folks know that we do have new materials available. We're not trying to be the Rotary police. That's not what this is about, but it is a branding campaign and it's important for us to get our image out there. So if you guys will help me with that, I spoke with a couple of webmasters from some districts recently who said, yeah, give us the new materials. We'll get it on our website. And so people have been very helpful about it. But if you guys will help me with that and make sure that you give me give me their information. If you want us to reach out to them and you don't feel comfortable talking to them about it, that's fine too. Just let me know. But if you can help us with that. The other piece of that is on our website. You may recall last month we talked about the calendar, and the calendar is looking great these days because we're populating it with presentations that all of you are making in addition to our executive committee and my presentations. So if you are speaking to a club or a district or have a fundraiser going out, if you would let me know those, we'll get those added to the calendar. I think it looks really great to show how active and involved we are over so many different states and in so many different areas. But I only know about that if I hear about it. So if you'll give me that information, I'll be happy to put it on the website. All right. The other thing I wanted to mention, in addition to branding and that thing, is that we are still looking at purchasing new buckets and new materials, but there is an expense that is associated with all of that. And as you all have heard on numerous occasions, we have the separate supporting organization that is called TRAC, which is CART spelled backwards, Trusting Rotarians for an Alzheimer's Cure. And that is where we can accept major gifts, planned gifts, designated gifts for things like program cost, administrative cost, some operating expenses for travel for our volunteers. And we have been actively seeking planned gifts, estate gifts, larger major gifts, designated gifts for that purpose. We're also going to be reaching out and looking at corporate sponsors for that purpose as well. And there's a small team of us that are working on that, some fundraising executives and professionals who are helping me. And we hope that in January, by the beginning of January, we'll have that added to our website. If you haven't been to the website yet and explored it, please do. But on there is a page about TRAC that explains what TRAC is. What I would also ask you to do is take a moment to review that and give us some feedback. If you feel like it's not adequately explaining what TRAC is and what it does, because I've read it 14,000 times, so I can tell it to you in my sleep, it makes perfect sense to me. But if you guys look at it and you say, I don't understand, please let me know that. Be nice about it, but let me know that. Send me an email and I'll be happy to make some changes to it. But that is our goal, is to create sponsorship levels for corporate sponsors that we can bring in that might like to put their branded logo on some of our items as well. So I'm happy to answer questions if you have any about that. Otherwise, we'll just keep you posted as we continue to work on that. All right, seeing no questions, I'm going to introduce one of our sitting district governors who is with us tonight. She's actually from my district, Tammy Mosteller from District 7670. I've been mentioning to you guys for some time now that we are working on a cause-based Rotary Club. It's gone out in our newsletter. It's gone out in some of our other materials that we've put out. Some of you on this call have indicated to me that you would be interested in transferring and being a part of this club. I want to remind you that is not our intent, is to take members away from current clubs. We are going to target other audiences. But for those of you who might be interested in that, I have your information. If you have emailed me on that, I'll be back in touch. But I asked Tammy to join us tonight because Alzheimer's awareness and research is very important to her. And she's actually going to be the CART chair in our district next year when Michelle moves on to become president of my club. And Tammy is spearheading this effort for our cause-based Rotary Club. And I wanted her to give us a quick update on that. Tammy, thanks for being here.
Hey, Tiffany. Hello, everyone. I'm this because, as many of you know, that CART is very dear to me because my mother had Alzheimer's, my grandmother had Alzheimer's, my younger sister at 48 years old was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and my DNA has come back that I'm at high risk for Alzheimer's. So it's very, very important to me. And so I've been working with Tiffany for almost 6 months now, and we've been putting this plan in place as to how we can do and what we can do. And so I started this little spreadsheet and I started asking anybody and everybody, hey, would you be interested in an online club dedicated to CART and Alzheimer's research and that type of thing? And so gotten great response. We've got a spreadsheet full of contact information, which Tiffany, I'm hoping that you're going to send that link out to all them to join for the CART Lunch and Learn, or Lunch a la carte, whatever it's called, because we had talked about that. And also, so we're looking at starting the first CART cause-based club in District 7670. We are in the very planning stages of that. Lots of interest in the area, lots of interest. And so I'm really excited because I think we'll be able to do some great things for CART once we get this club up and running. But as of right now, there's a lot of interest. What am I missing, Tiffany?
That's awesome. You're exactly right. And I think we just wanted to reinforce to you all that we are not looking to take members away from your current clubs. We are looking at targeting individuals who were previous Rotarians that left our organization for various reasons, but also people who have that specific interest in Alzheimer's research due to a personal connection, or maybe they were very involved with CART when they were members previously, or whatever the case may be. So we just want to reiterate that over and over. But if you have names of folks that you know of that you would like to get involved, feel free to share their contact with Tammy or myself, and we'll add them to that spreadsheet. She started a Google spreadsheet, and within hours, she had 15 names on it, literally, of just people that she has talked to personally. And we're adding to that list the ones that you've given us. We are going to reach out to those terminated and previous members in our district. But I also wanted to remind you that that does not mean that your district can't do the same thing. This will be one that is sponsored by District 7670. So members would be members of our district, but there is no rule that says there cannot be a cause-based club in another district with the same idea and the same topic. So if you are interested in doing something similar in your district, we are more than happy to help you do that as well.
Oh, Tiffany, let me add one more thing. I was in the senior industry for 30 years. And so nursing homes, networking, senior centers. So I had thousands of contacts of people who are in the senior industry. And they're in this industry because they have a big interest in senior causes. And so if you are looking for potential members for a CART base, or if you want to contact those, or if you want to get those potential members to me, I'll be glad to contact them. But anybody in the senior industry, nursing home, senior services, anything like that, those are the people who are going to be your biggest, or your biggest interest is going to come from. And again, and those who are personally touched by Alzheimer's.
As we mentioned before, we are going to be utilizing the monthly lunch a la carte as one of the required meetings of this club. And so this is we introduced it at the meeting at the Lunch and Learn last month, and we'll continue to do that at the beginning of each one of these, with hopes that that will encourage people to attend who are non-Rotarians. I know some of you have invited some folks. We ask you to continue to do that if you are willing. All right. So the next topic on my schedule is to give you a couple of other quick updates. I am in a hotel, as I mentioned to some of you earlier. I am in Raleigh this week with your district chair of 7710, Suzanne Botts, who's actually sitting on the other side of my hotel room right now. And I was here this week to present the first volunteer service award based on a district. We discussed it last month, you may remember. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on that. We called it the Changemaker Award. We created, for those of you who may have missed it, a certificate that every district chair can use to present and recognize one individual Rotarian in their district every year as basically it's the Volunteer of the Year award in your district for CART. And you, as the district chair, have the decision to make with your district governor as to who you would like to recognize. We have the the downloadable certificate. Suzanne's district selected their individual. They actually purchased a plaque to give to him, and they brought me to town this week to present that award along with District Governor Nathan yesterday. And guys, it was incredible. This 83-year-old man was so moved by us recognizing him yesterday. But I can tell you that we're the ones that were blessed by what we heard and saw yesterday from what this guy did. And I shot lots of video yesterday. There'll be a story coming out about him on our newsletter and on our YouTube channel. So I'll encourage you to stay tuned for that. But I will give you a brief update and say that this man lost his wife to Alzheimer's back in August. But he is a musician. And before she died, he would bring her with him, and he would come out on Main Street in downtown Cary, North Carolina, and he would set up his music stand and bring his trumpet and a bucket that has the blue bucket for CART. And he would stand there and play his trumpet, and he let his wife sit and listen as he would do that. She passed away in August. He still comes out there. He comes out to downtown 6 nights a week and puts his bucket in front of his music stand and plays his trumpet for anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. And we found out yesterday that Larry Kingsley has raised already, are you ready? $10,000 by collecting money on the street from playing his trumpet. And while we are blessed by what he has done, he just kept talking about the blessings that he gets. He stops and talks to the children, and he talks to people about his wife, and he plays patriotic music and hymns and then Christmas songs right now. And we sat out there with him for almost 2 hours last night in the cool and the drizzle. And he is quite a trooper. And I just want you to really be thinking about who it is in your district that you would like to recognize. And we will make sure that we can update the certificate for you. If you don't know how to do that, make a big deal. They invited their entire governor chain to come yesterday. Lots of past district governors were there, and it was a total surprise to him. And that's the way you do it. So if you want to know how to make this thing really successful, talk to Suzanne or DG Nathan Thomas, who has done a tremendous job in this district. But what we're finding is that people like to be appreciated and thanked, even though they say they don't. It really means a lot to people, and you never know when something that you do for someone like that is really going to impact them to come. So I just wanted to say a special thank you to them for that, and let you guys remind you that that is an opportunity that's available to each and every one of you. And when you do it, take lots of pictures, share them with me. I want to put it on our Facebook page and on our Twitter and on our website and on our social media. So you'll be seeing all of that coming up in the next few weeks. The next thing I wanted to share with you, Rod mentioned it briefly, was our year-to-date giving. And so I'm going to share my screen with you guys for a second, and I will put this in a handout that I email out to you guys as well. But I thought Rod mentioned just how amazing you guys are doing right now. And I just wanted to share with you that if you look at our year-to-date, and this is as of yesterday, December the 7th, with figures that are in the portal, and I compared them to the same date last year. And I want you to look at the difference in our giving year to date this year versus last year. The 8 districts in North and South Carolina, $179,000 through yesterday, compared to $33,000 this time last year. The Georgia, Florida districts, $33,000 versus $6,500. The rest of Florida, $61,000 versus $48,000. Now, if you see that there's not a district listed on here, they were at 0 giving this year. So I tried to condense this report just a little bit. You'll also see in the northern zones some of those districts as well. So total giving year to date as of yesterday, this is since July 1, is $281,000 compared to last year at $88,000. So I cannot thank you guys enough for what you are doing. You are truly making an impact. And I just know that with everything else that we have going on with the recurring giving program and recognizing Roger, with the major gifts that we are out there seeking and working on, with the fundraisers that you guys have planned, and with the fundraising idea of the month that we're going to share with you a little bit later, I know that these numbers are going to hit all kinds of new records in the next few months. So any questions about that before I take that off the screen? I will email you guys this report so you can all have a copy of it as well. All right. So the other thing I wanted to mention to you is we mentioned last month that we are working on the schedule for all of the district conferences and also all of the pets. And I have reached out to folks in the individual states and the areas where we have committed to having a display, and we're working on that schedule. We have a lot of volunteers who are willing to do that. If you are in a position to travel and to meet new people and want to help at some of these, some of them are very small and they don't need a large group of people. But if you are interested in doing something like that, please let me know. We will put you in touch with one of the available weekends. It turns out that a lot of pets are on the same weekend. And so we are spreading our volunteers all over. We are also out there seeking grants and designated gifts to help with reimbursement expenses for you all so that you do not have to pay for these things out of pocket. But as a reminder, we are handling all of the registrations for all of the pets through the CART, through our executive committee, so that we make sure we're consistent. And then what our plan is in early January, before the pets begin in February, we're going to hold a Zoom call with everyone who has signed up to volunteer at one of the pets. And we're going to make sure that everybody has the same information, everybody has the same handouts, everybody knows how to do the displays the same, as we are really working towards really having a consistent brand and a consistent image. That's going to be really important. So we're working on that schedule. We'll get back to you guys with that. But keep in mind that now is the time to be thinking about your district's conferences. And if you have not considered doing so, please talk to your district governor, Chain, and your district conference chair and see if they are interested in either A, having a display in the House of Friendship, if that exists, B, having you or one of our executive committee members, myself or someone else, come and do a program, or C, more importantly, inviting one of our researchers to come and speak, because they are more than willing to do that as well. And what we have found is that they are very effective in letting people know where the money is going. People love to hear that research. So if you need help booking one of those three things, or if you need me to talk to your governor, Chain, please let me know. I'm happy to help do that. What a great night it is to see all of these governors and future governors on this call tonight. I just want to say a huge whoop whoop to all of you guys, because this is incredible. I think the entire District 6920 is here, I think, and most of 7670. I mean, you guys are just incredible. So thank you very much. So, all right. So the next thing that I have is to introduce our fundraising idea of the month for this month. And we're a little early, so she's going to have a little extra time. And then we're going to have time for questions and answers at the end rather than go into breakouts. So it is December the 8th. And that means this is our opportunity to make a last minute pitch to our Rotarians to make a year-end gift to CART. And I asked Elaine Cook to join us tonight and share with us, because she is a professional fundraiser. And I thought, you know, for some people who maybe have never done professional fundraising, you may not even realize that year-end giving is a big deal and a big thing. So I've asked Elaine to share with us some of her tips and tricks and best practices, and to give you some information on what you might try these last 3 weeks of the month. Elaine, thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. I'm so excited to see all these people. I had to miss the last meeting, and it's been kind of a crazy holiday season. I know you guys are like, woo, drinking from a fire truck, because with something happening every night. And one of the things that we're doing, especially during this time of year, is trying to allow people, give them the chance to make a meaningful gift before the year's over. What is cool and now quaint about CART is that it started out with just coins in the bucket. And that's a huge way to go. And that's what was appealing when we took on CART. But now we have a responsibility to make meaningful gifts that have a huge impact, because a lot of these people who are doing the research, sometimes they have to pay, you know, $30,000 just to isolate a protein to be used. So it's more expensive, and we need to get a little bit more strategic about our giving and get more diversified on how we ask people to give. So what we've suggesting is that you take the opportunity to talk to people about what would be meaningful to them at the end of the year. And one of those things is obviously planned gifts, and those are a little bit tricky. They take a little time. Annual gifts are easier, and we would talk about the year-end appeals and what are some tricks to get those done. And those gifts that are either donor advised funds or required minimum distributions, those are all coming into play sometimes with the December 31st calendar and sometimes not. Depends on when you've set up these funds. Regardless, it's a good time to ask them because it's the spirit of giving, right? So when you send out your year-end appeals, or if you have a chance to send out anything from your computer to your listserv of all your guests, all your friends, it's a great time to remind them that if they haven't considered CART, it's a good time to do it. And something was shared with me today that I'm actually going to steal because it's a great idea. And you get all these emails and it says, oh, please donate. And I go switch left, blah. One of the things that we got in the mail that says, you're invited. And I was like, dude, I'm invited. Where am I invited? This comes from my alma mater, and it was going to be something really intriguing. So I was like, oh, I'm so special. They've invited me. Well, you open it up and you scan in there, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, I hope this note finds you well. Your friend's name. It says, because of your loyal support as an alumni and donor, it means so much to us. Again, I'm thinking they think I'm special. They've invited me. I would be honored to have you join me in participating in our year-end giving campaign. Oh my gosh, I'm invited to join them. So I think that's brilliant. And then the next paragraph reminds me that it's a tax deductible gift by December 31st. Well, I'm telling you this, I'm stealing this because it's a great idea. It made me open it. And, people, especially this time of year, they want to give. Sometimes they just have to be asked. And what clever ways we can find to ask them and timely ways we can find to ask them make all the difference. A lot of times we can do group things. I know through us, sometimes we do a group annual year-end appeal. And if we just put a sticky note, many of you who are fundraisers know this is very impactful. If you just do a personal sticky note on there that looks like before you mail it, do the snail mail, it says, I hope you'll join me, Elaine, or this is really important cause, Elaine. It doesn't have to say to Tiffany, it just says a post-it note on that letter. So these are 2 tricks that get people to open up, and your success rate of opening either electronically or via snail mail increases with some of those little tricks. If you don't know the language for how to ask people about their required minimum distributions or their donor advised funds or annual gifts or planned gifts, we can help you with some of that language if it's not something you're familiar with or easily rolls off the tongue. These days, nothing easily rolls off my tongue because I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm sleep deprived. But if you could use some of this nomenclature, these little terms that might spark, oh yeah, I need to do that before the IRA gets mad because I'm over 72, now it's 72, and I'm required to do a minimum distribution from the IRA. So sometimes you just need the right little language in those appeals. So we've come a long way from dropping coins in the bucket. We have to be more sophisticated because research costs more and we make a big impact. And I'm so passionate about this. It's such an important thing. If anybody can do it, we're all counting on you. Those of us who have friends and family who have had Alzheimer's, and I bet a lot of us on this call, we're all counting on Rotary to save the day again. We did it for polio. We can do it for CART. And anytime you need a trick or the little ticks and things, I'm stealing from somebody, please steal from me. Please go right ahead and you're invited to join me in giving to CART as part of your appeal electronically. So hopefully that gives you a little language, and please feel free. And we're going to work on this. Tiffany and I are both like running around with chickens and working too late I'm old, she's young. I can't work past 10 o'clock anymore. And so, but I'll try to get this to you within the next week to try to get some of this information. You can also find great tips. And if you're dying for some riveting reading, the IRA website gives you great language regarding required minimal gifts or deferred or donor advised funds. So pony up, go Google it. It's great. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Elaine. Does anybody have any questions for her? I know we have several folks on the call and in our group who are professional fundraisers, and I know any of them would be happy to answer your questions if you have any.
The giving through the IRA, if you're past 72, if you make the check directly to the charity, it's not taxable to you on your tax return, but you got to make the check directly. I make all of my charitable contributions that way. If I can't write the check, they don't get it.
That's an excellent point. And that brings up a really excellent point, Luther, that what do we do with that check? If someone asks us that they want to make a disbursement from the, a minimum required disbursement, we have to keep in mind that that cannot be put up in the portal necessarily. So if someone in your district specifically asks how they can do that, my first advice is to just have them send it to you. But Michelle has volunteered to help us get all of these on. So because what's going to happen, and we know this from experience, they get so many checks in Sumter that Johnny and Angus have to deal with, and they don't always know where they come from. And if most of the time, fortunately, it might be written on a checking account from a club, but these checks will have nothing related to a club on there. So we want to make sure that the individuals and their clubs and their districts do get the proper credit for it. So the best way to do that is to either call me or call Michelle or check with one of us, and we can tell you where to mail that check so that we make sure it gets credited to the right account. Does that make sense to everyone?
I think last year, or my contribution, we ran it through the portal and it worked.
But you had the check mailed to yourself then?
No, I had the check. I wrote it directly.
Oh, you write the check. Okay,
I
that's
write the
absolutely
check. I write the
perfect.
check.
And
They don't
Luther is
issue the check. I got a
Okay.
book of checks that I wrote one today to another charity. I'm going to
Excellent.
mail tonight. No. The
Okay.
check needs to be, this is a money saver, but it can save you
Really?
taxes.
It is the best way to go. And the more I understand it, the more I know how valuable it is. And Luther's right. I've actually made some of those, made a deposit online with some of those checks, and then some don't work. And so we have a jewel in Michelle. She knows how to do it and get in the weeds in the back of the DAC-DB and CART fund and make sure, because above all else, I want to make sure that your club gets credit for that great donation.
And we want to make sure people get thanked. And that's the other piece of it as well, that we want to make sure, because obviously we want to make sure that the original donor gets a thank you note from us so they know how much we appreciate their gifts.
Yes, I love the portal is the way to go. It saved me a lot of trips to Wells Fargo and a lot of disappointment, because when it gets to corporate, it's really hard for them to figure out what all those checks were that were in the deposit. But I've had success both ways. And so if you don't seem to be able to get it done, if it won't do your electronic deposit on DAC-DB, then take it to Michelle, is my advice.
And if I get those checks, then I'll let Tiffany know the letter. I'll let the district CART chair, I'll let Elaine know, whoever the CART chair is, know that that came, and so that they can be thanked. And I know Rod's sending thank yous to large donors or all donors, and also get a IRS slip that says this is how much they gave. When I first started, there was a district governor who gave $1,000 a year, and it went to South Carolina, and CART got credit for it. The money doesn't disappear. The money goes to the CART fund. It just doesn't get entered in the portal. So we're working with Angus on that as well.
And there's a big difference. Luther points out he's got an RRA, a checkbook, he's managing it. If it's a donor advised funds, it does get a little trickier, and that's what my donor talked to you about.
And what's going to happen now, actually in the future, what's going to happen is if Angus gets checks, sometimes there is no name on it, Luther. You're absolutely right. But Tiffany and I will know, and we'll do the background and the research to make sure that that person gets the credit properly and gets thanked. So there are large gifts coming in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, it's amazing. It's incredible. Yeah.
We are finding that there are lots of individuals who have chosen CART or track as part of their bequests and in their planned giving. And unfortunately, oftentimes we don't know about it until that person passes away. So I encourage you, if you are having that discussion with someone, or if they even ask you about the opportunity, please let us know so that we can recognize them and thank them while we still have the opportunity. Because more often than not, I'm getting a notification that we have been listed in an estate. Sometimes it's a large amount, sometimes it's not. Sometimes the family is contesting it and we don't have any money yet, and sometimes they're not. But that is an opportunity. If you know of someone who might be interested in that, we certainly can talk to them about that as well. Any other
What
questions?
a great gift to your family, for them not to have to deal with that for capital gains, etc. It's just giving transforms you, and that's one of the ways.
Great. Thank you, Elaine. So I think that last month we talked about the coin drops, and the month before, I believe, was the month that Randy shared with us her emails that she sends out on a regular basis. And many of you have copied and pasted and used her ideas for monthly emails. And what you are seeing in that list of contributions that we shared earlier are the direct results of that continuous communication with those folks. And I know Rod and Michelle have copied and pasted those and seen great results of saying these are the clubs that have donated so far, and then they automatically start getting responses from clubs that were not on the list and want to be included. So that's an awesome opportunity, especially right now in the last 3 weeks of this month, to think about year-end giving, and for both individuals and for clubs, and as Rod mentioned earlier, for those who maybe are holding on to money in their club treasuries. Connie.
I have a quick question from my treasurer from my club, and I think right at the beginning, Rob may have mentioned it, because we now have people that are giving through the portal, and we have not had that before. We now need to know the process to get that information so that we know what our club is doing. So is there an opportunity to learn how to get into that, see who's given and know what our club is doing?
Honey, we have wonderful reports within the portal, and you can go to the portal and it will tell you exactly which contributions have been made to your club by name and by date and by amount.
Okay, so in the portal, there's just an obvious place. I personally don't usually go in there. So Rick, my husband, who is the treasurer, asked me today, he's like, I don't know where to go to get it because everything always funneled through him. And now this is different. And we want to encourage more people to be part of the Roger Ackerman. And so we just don't want to lose sight of when they do that. So
once you're in the portal, if you'll click on the word reports,
okay,
it gives you about 6 or 8 choices, maybe more than that.
All right.
And the club contribution report will give you some information. Probably the more detailed one would be the top left button. If you'll click on that and just pick the right club, it will give you a list of contributions for this particular Rotary year. And if you want last year, you can adjust the ask.
And are any of these things confidential, or is the person who is going in and looking having certain levels, like in DAC-DB, we have certain levels? I see Tiffany shaking her head. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And the beauty of you, Connie, is that you're in Michelle's district. So you can always call her and she can pull that information. That
Yes.
typically is the information that we are asking district chairs to pull those reports, or executive committee members and District Governor Chain like yourself. But it's not something we would ask every Rotarian to go in and look at, because you're right. Donor information is confidential.
I think that is a sensitive situation. If
Absolutely.
you start looking into that, and then you start mentioning it to people, well, you gave $50 last year, can you do 100 this year? I think we would have a number of Rotarians who might consider that to be offensive,
Yep.
and it may backfire. So I
I
would
agree
be
completely.
very
Thank you.
careful.
I'll
Absolutely.
go in, Connie. I will go in, Connie, and make sure that you and Rick, they'll have the level to look at each of the reports that you need to look at. And if you
Now,
want to call me, just call me.
Rick shouldn't, because he's just a club treasurer, but he asked me at the club treasurer level, how will he know what, because he does report at the board meeting, how much we've raised for
Mhm.
for the foundation. And now all of a sudden there's information that isn't at his fingertips. So I'll go ahead and I'll look, and maybe the question beyond just what we're talking about for my club, maybe there's other clubs that might have that, but you may have already covered that, Michelle. So
I will be happy to answer any questions Rick needs, and I'll make sure you both have access.
super. Thank you.
And Luther is exactly right. Thank you for pointing that out. We do want to remind people that this is something we, and Michelle and I have had this conversation a lot lately. This is something that we want to make sure our district chairs are the ones that are responsible. But also, when we send out an email to a large group and says, hey, guess what? Joe and Jane just gave us $20,000. We need to be very careful that we are only sharing that if the donor is okay with that, no matter what the amount is. And we do have some large gifts that come in, and we do make sure that before I put it on the website or on the Facebook page or any of our social media, I do always double check with the district chair to make sure that they have communicated with that donor that we have permission to share that, because Luther is exactly right. It's one of those ethical issues in fundraising that again, if you're not fundraising for a living, you may not think about it. It's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's just never even occurred to you. Thank you, Luther.
We just appreciate your being here. We really do. Thank you all for participating.